We're doing a bit of a walkthrough of the workshop because we're doing a lot and not much all at the same time.
You're real funny, haha!
Now that might not make sense. To somebody they're probably like,
oh yeah, of course, I know what you mean.
Right? Some people are like,
that makes no sense at all.
Basically, we've got a lot happening, but nothing getting finished. We're getting a hold up of one form of another, whether it's parts or part. It's mainly parts is the hold up currently. Start of the shed, we'll start at the Mustang. So this is Kyle's Mustang. It's got the 5-litre Coyote. Been on the channel before. We got it retuned. We got some wide body skirts. We got some wide body flares put on the back to fit under those big wheels. Just to have like a satin black wrap, impact number plates. It's getting twin turbos. So what we're waiting on for that is, you wouldn't believe it, the turbos. The twins. But we've got the intercooler is mounted. Don't worry about the shit under the intercooler, that's just zip tied there. But the intercooler is mounted. That's a Plasma Man twin turbo specific intercooler made for the Coyotes, which is nice. It doesn't bolt in, but it fits in, if that makes sense. I'm making a lot of if that makes sense comments today, aren't I? So far. So it's in, the intercooler's in, and then jumping into the big old ugly engine bay that is at the moment, which hopefully will look which will hopefully look less ugly by the time we're finished. The blower has been ripped off, so this had a Whipple? But anyway, the blower was taken off. The blowers are get rid of them. Nobody likes a blower. And we've got a Holley intake manifold on the top there that he already had, so that's sitting there. The rubber wire's just sitting there because we need an adapter for it, but everything's sort of getting prepared there for the turbos to go where they're going to go, which is underneath the car. So we're going to have twin turbos up under the car, intercooler pipes running forward, into the intercooler, out of the intercooler, up here, boom, into the intake. All of that is very nice. Can't do anything else till we've got the turbos. So that's project number one, which I don't think we've actually spoken about because we've been waiting till be like, twin turbo Mustang, but we don't have the twin turbos, you know? This is our twin turbo Mustang. And then we move on, you know, that's not exciting. But if we do lots of those little things, then we can tell. John's car, not really waiting on parts for this thing, so to speak, but it's in a very limbo stage at the moment, so there's lots done on it and there's lots of little things that need to be done on it. So currently I'm sort of back and forward on this thing with the wiring. I got the chassis harnesses all done, all the lights work, everything like that. It's all brand new wiring. That's all very cool, but it's hard to film that because it's all just tedious, boring stuff. Like, it's getting hot in here, so take off all my clothes. George doesn't want to sit there for 6 hours and watch me make anyway. But this thing should be getting its first start pretty soon, so that will be exciting. It's really not that far off. You can come in, I can actually show you this. This is actually kind of cool. So the ECU's mounted in the middle there. I've got all the coils mounted up underneath each side of the ECU in here. They're all done. We're waiting 2 more coils on the other side, but this thing's not really that far off. It's just got a bunch of little things that need to happen to it, and it can have its first start. Once it gets its first start, it's going to get roll cage and interior. So, how much power? This thing's probably only gonna make like 600, I think. So this is just a stock rebuilt LS1. He does want to get a big boy motor in there and make some big power with it, but so the concept at the start of the build was that he was just going to get it running with this engine, make 600, cool, whatever, drive it around for a bit and then go to the big engine. But there has been rumours that I've heard from Stu saying that he wants to just go straight to the big motor. He's not even sure if he wants to run that. So that may happen, but I'm also fairly close to starting it, so I'm thinking I'm probably just going to start it anyway, so that's, you know. Maybe not, we'll find out. He can make his mind up on that anyway. That's a him problem. S14, that was in the last video. Juddy's got the subframes out there.
Oh, hello.
How you going?
Not bad.
How's your weekend, mate?
Alright.
Once the subframes go back in that, we will be waiting on parts for it as well. We'll be waiting for an engine, waiting for all that sort of stuff before the fab. There's no real rush on that car. Also, if you're wondering about the satin paint, why it's not shiny, it's because it's been wet sanded but it hasn't been buffed yet. So never fear. It's not satin red, it just hasn't been polished. But yeah, there's no real rush on that car. That's just sort of going to get done as it gets done, you know. Goku. It's fucking windy out here, isn't it? Goku, again, waiting on parts. The billet sump turned up for it yesterday, but
I can get a sprint for 25. I can do 25. Even better. Ooh. Bearings. Oh, that's all the pretty stuff. Wow. All the bolts and stuff. For the differential wall. And then tape everywhere. Just come out. Coming. You coming?
You want to pull the box up? You need to
Pull. Hey. I got it.
Ready?
yeah, so this is the PRP billet all-wheel drive dry sump for an RB. Very lovely piece. Very lovely piece, as you can see. That's got the diff housing that bolts to the side of it. So they had the sumps revised, sent us the sump, but the diff housings are they were still cutting them, so we don't have that yet. So we need the diff housing so that Juddy can build the diff, so that we can put the diff on the sump and then on the engine and then in the car. Because we don't want to try and put the diff on the engine while the engine's in the car, because I think that's going to be a nightmare. I'm not really willing to take that gamble. So we're still waiting for the diff gears and the diff housing to turn up for that before I can put it back in the car. I'm also waiting on a massive fitting list from BMRS or MSCN. They're BMRS fittings from MSCN, I think. Waiting for that massive fitting list to turn up so that I can do all the dry sump lines. This car already had, so normally we use Speedflow, but this car already had BMRS fittings all over it, and he wanted to keep it all the same fittings from front to back, so had to order all them. And because they're dash 16 lines, they're quite, I'll show you one. Dash 16 lines, they're quite large and not very flexible. Like flexible-ish, but in terms of AN lines, not very flexible. So they're quite a large line. And I don't want to, I've got to get all of that from under the car up into the boot. And I'm going to do that with a bulkhead plate, but I don't want to start making that bulkhead plate until I've got the fittings so that I can make sure that it's exactly right. Otherwise it gets ugly very quickly. So I've got to wait for the fittings before I can do that. You know, we're just waiting. We're just waiting on the world to change. We're waiting on engines, we're waiting on parts, we're waiting on diffs, we're waiting on George. What? Yeah, quick big deal update. It's still here, waiting on stuff as well. No, the head is almost done. We got a brand new head, brand new camshaft profile. It's brand new casting. Ross has got it. He's almost finished with it. The engine is getting checked over as well, just getting the bottom end checked while it was out of the car, while we were waiting on other stuff. You know, we figured we may as well do that. And then that's pretty much going to be all ready to go back together. I think we're also switching from the Hypertune intake manifold. We're switching back to a Plasma Man because that's what we run on G-Up. We're trying to replicate G-Up because that thing's sick and we don't really have any issues with it at all. So we're trying to make sure that everything we're running on G-Up that we've got on this car, even if it seems menial, is that the right word? I think it is, menial. Even if it seems like a menial thing, we're trying to make sure that it just replicates that car because we're not having any of these issues with that car. So, and then that thing will be back together and we'll go racing with that again, which will be sweet. Don't know. That's my sump. It's got the diff chopped off. It's going in my Morris Minor. You probably think that's a joke, but it's not. We can talk about that car that we're waiting on an engine for. We can talk about the Evo that we're waiting on an engine for. We can talk about the other Evo that we're waiting on an engine for. That's quick. That's a quick update. Pretty much, we're waiting on everything. Not one. I can't even think of. I mean, it's the same thing. There's plenty to do, but there's just nothing to finish. That's a good. There you go. Put that on the slogan. Plenty to do, nothing to finish. But there's going to be lots to finish soon, and then it'll be a mad rush to get everything finished, which is how it always goes. But that's all right. That concludes this segment. Thank you. Bye.